All right, so are you ready to jump into something a little bit different today?
Always.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because today we are going to be taking a deep dive into a folk tale that is attributed to Rabbi נחman of Breslov. And it is anything but your typical bedtime story.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's got twists and turns and really deep questions about power and love and just about everything in between.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Okay, so right off the bat, what struck me was how it begins. Like, it starts with a king and an emperor who both want heirs.
Yeah.
And they just decide, hey, let's marry off our kids.
Oh, wow.
If one has a son and the other has a daughter.
Mm.
And it's just so casual. Like, they're arranging a play date, not the, destinies of nations.
You'd think decisions with these huge implications would involve a little more deliberation, right?
Right, exactly.
So what do you think about this agreement shaping the whole narrative?
Well, I think it really highlights how chance and seemingly insignificant choices can have enormous consequences. It makes you wonder about fate versus free will.
For sure.
Like, what if they hadn't made that pact?
Hmm.
Would anything that happens in this story have happened?
Yeah, good point.
So it's like this underlying current, pulling all the characters along, even when they try to swim against it.
Okay, I like that.
And speaking of swimming against the current,
Yeah.
these royal kids, the ones with this arranged marriage hanging over their heads,
Yeah.
they meet at school and surprise, surprise,
Oh.
fall head over heels in love.
Well, that's sweet.
It is sweet.
Yeah.
They also get secretly married.
Whoa. Okay, hold on.
Right.
So that's a bold move.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it shows the societal pressures that they must have felt to go to such lengths.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And of course, the secret can't stay hidden forever.
Okay, so what happens?
Well, the princess, she starts refusing all these suitors that are paraded before her.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the prince starts wasting away with lovesickness. It's like a classic romantic drama unfolding.
And I'm guessing this lovesickness is what forces their secret out into the open.
So the emperor, he's faced with this unexpected situation.
Yeah.
And he decides to test the prince.
Oh, to see if he's worthy.
Exactly, to see if he can handle the responsibility of ruling a kingdom.
Makes sense.
But the princess, she's not just sitting idly by.
Oh, so she helps him.
She secretly helps him pass the test.
Wow, she sounds pretty resourceful.
She is. She's very clever and very dedicated to their relationship.
I like her already.
Yeah, she's definitely not a damsel in distress.
That's for sure.
But then things escalate even further.
How so?
They decide to elope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they flee the palace, hoping to escape all these expectations.
Yeah.
But fate intervenes,
Oh, no. What happened?
They get lost in a forest, and they get separated.
Oh, no.
And they lose a very important ring in the process.
Well.
It's like the whole story takes this turn into darker territory.
So what happens to the princess?
Well, she's alone now. She's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Stripped of all her comforts. And she has to navigate this world that she's totally unprepared for.
That sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, but luckily she's not alone for long.
Oh, good.
She encounters a merchant's son, and at least at first, he seems like a pretty decent guy.
Okay.
He offers her help,
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. A safe passage on his ship.
Okay, but things are never that simple in these stories, are they?
They're not.
So what's your take on this encounter?
Well, I think it really sets up this test of character. For both of them.
Yeah.
She can accept his kindness and risk being discovered.
Yeah.
Or she can exploit his generosity for her own gain.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is.
So what does she choose?
Well, she chooses the latter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a decision that really makes you pause and think, doesn't it?
It does.
On the one hand, she's desperate.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, she's tricking this guy who is only trying to help her.
It's interesting that Rabbi נחman, he doesn't shy away from this.
You're right.
Like, he presents this as a complex decision.
Yeah.
With lasting consequences.
And I really feel for the merchant's son.
He too.
He's portrayed as genuinely wanting to help.
Yeah.
And he ends up paying such a steep price for it.
What do you think this says about trust and betrayal?
Well, I think it's a reminder that even with the best intentions, we can still cause harm.
That's a good point.
And the story doesn't let the princess off the hook either.
Oh, so this pattern of deception continues.
It does. She ends up at another king's palace and agrees to marry him. And then guess what?
She escapes again?
She escapes again.
Oh, wow.
And this time she takes his ship and 11 princesses with her.
What?
Yeah.
11 princesses?
It seems like she's just spiraling down this path of increasingly reckless actions.
Yeah, it does seem that way, but would you say there's also a sense of empowerment in her actions?
Oh, absolutely. Like she's constantly defying expectations.
Yeah.
Refusing to be a pawn. You know, she's taking control.
Yeah.
Even if it means resorting to unconventional methods.
And maybe even morally questionable ones.
Right. And then things take an even wilder turn.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Okay. So they encounter pirates while they're sailing disguised as men.
Oh, right.
And this is where the princess's resourcefulness goes to a whole new level.
How so?
Well, up until now, it's been about outsmarting people.
Right.
But now, faced with a life or death situation, she and the princesses, they turn into warriors.
They fight back?
They fight back. They defeat the pirates.
Wow.
They even steal their treasure.
This princess is something else.
Right.
It's like she's gone through this total transformation.
Yeah, she has. It's amazing.
What do you think this says about gender roles?
I think it really challenges those fairy tale tropes where the princess is always the damsel in distress.
For sure.
You know, she's the one taking charge.
Yeah.
But it's not just about defeating the pirates.
What else is it about?
I think it's about appropriating their power.
Oh, by like wearing their clothes.
Exactly, like taking on their identities.
But it raises questions about the masks we wear.
Yeah.
And the roles we play.
Exactly. And just when you think the story can't get any more unpredictable,
It does.
it throws you another curveball.
Oh boy, what now?
So remember, they're still sailing disguised as pirates,
Right.
and they encounter another ship carrying a widowed queen and her advisors.
Okay.
The princess, she's mistaken for a doctor.
Because of her disguise.
Because of her disguise.
Yeah.
And she inadvertently kills the new king.
What?
Yeah, in a freak accident involving burning glass.
Oh my gosh, this is too much.
I know.
It's almost too absurd to believe.
Right.
But it kind of speaks to the unpredictable nature of life, you know?
It does. It's like the story's saying, just when you think you've got a handle on things.
Life throws a burning glass at you.
Exactly. And of course, the princess ends up marrying the widowed queen.
She marries the queen.
And becomes the new king.
Wow.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? It kind of challenges our preconceived notions of who's fit to rule.
That's a good point.
Right.
And it brings up the concept of redemption.
Oh, yeah, because she wronged all those people along the way.
Right. The merchant's son, the other king whose ship she stole.
Yeah.
Once she's in a position of power, she summons everyone in the kingdom.
Okay.
And she uses portraits of herself to identify those she needs to make amends to.
Wow. So she takes responsibility for her actions.
Yeah, it's a grand gesture of accountability.
Yeah, if I may.
What do you think about that?
What makes you wonder how often do we see that in our own world?
Good point.
You know,
Yeah.
especially from those in positions of power.
Yeah, you're right. Not often enough.
Not often enough.
This is definitely a story that makes you think.
It really does.
And we're just getting started.
I know there's so much more to unpack here.
And it really makes you think about the ripple effects of our actions, right?
Yeah.
Not just how they impact us, but those around us.
Yeah. And speaking of those around her, what about those 11 princesses? Oh, yeah. You know, the ones that were on the ship with her?
Right.
They kind of disappeared into the background there.
It's easy to overlook them with all this drama, you know?
Right.
But I think they add another layer to the story.
In what way?
Well, they're like a contrast to the princess. You know, she's so bold.
Yeah.
But they're more like followers.
Yeah, I see what you
And
mean.
I think it underscores her exceptional nature.
How so?
Well, she's willing to take risks that they wouldn't even think of
Right.
and face the consequences.
Makes you wonder what would have happened to them if they hadn't met her. Would they have just stayed in those gilded cages forever?
You know, maybe.
It's a good
It
question.
really makes you think about the influence we have on each other.
Yeah. And the importance of claiming our own agency.
Exactly.
But to be fair to the princess, it's not like she abandons them.
You're right.
Even after she becomes king and she reunites with her true love, she still makes sure to take care of them
So she returns the stolen goods.
and restores those she's wronged.
And that includes making sure the princesses are taken care of.
What do you think this says about her character?
I think it shows a real sense of responsibility
Yeah.
that goes beyond her own desires.
It's like a final act of atonement, right?
Yeah.
She recognizes that her journey, while it led to her own happiness, also caused harm to others
And in righting those wrongs, she finds peace.
and restores order.
Exactly.
You know, it's amazing how this folktale manages to touch on so many big themes,
It really is.
like love and fate and deception and justice,
and gender roles.
redemption,
Yeah.
even human nature.
It's all there.
It's the power of storytelling, you know?
For sure.
It allows us to explore these ideas.
In a way that's really engaging.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what resonated most with you?
That's a tough one.
I know there's so much here.
There is.
Was there a particular character that you connected with?
I think I really connected with the princess.
Yeah.
She's such a complex character.
Yeah.
You know?
Is.
She's flawed.
Definitely.
But she's also strong and resourceful. And ultimately, she wants to do the right thing.
Yeah. She's definitely a character you won't forget.
And the story itself is just so thought-provoking.
It really is, and it stays with you long after you've heard it.
I agree.
And sometimes the most profound journeys begin with a simple story.
That's true.
A tale whispered across centuries.
Yeah.
Inviting us to discover its hidden truths.
And connect them to our own lives.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, it really makes you think about those ripple effects.
It does.
Like, it's not just about us, right?
No, it's about everyone we touch.
Exactly. And, speaking of those around her, what about those 11 princesses?
Yeah, what about them?
They kind of just disappeared there for a while.
They did. They were off on their own adventure, I guess.
It's easy to forget about them amidst all this drama.
It is, with the princess taking center stage.
And I think their presence actually adds another layer to this story.
Oh.
Well, they serve as a contrast to her choices. They kind of represent a different path.
I see what you mean.
Like, while she's out there forging her own destiny, defying all these conventions,
yeah,
they're more like followers.
Just going along for the ride.
Exactly. And I think it really highlights just how exceptional she is.
Yeah, she's definitely one of a kind.
She's willing to take these huge risks and face these consequences that most people wouldn't even consider.
Makes you wonder what would have become of them if they hadn't met her.
Right. Like, would they have just stayed trapped in those gilded cages?
Forever subject to the whims of fate or, the decisions of others.
And I think the story leaves that question open for a reason.
Oh, I agree.
It makes us think about the impact we have on each other.
And the importance of, taking control of our own lives.
Yeah, claiming our own agency even when those around us are choosing a different path.
But to be fair to the princess, she doesn't abandon those 11 princesses.
Oh, not at all.
Even after she becomes king, after she reunites with her love, she makes sure to return the stolen goods.
Yeah, she tries to right those wrongs.
And she makes sure that those princesses are returned to their rightful places.
It speaks volumes about her character, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, it shows this sense of responsibility that goes beyond her own personal desires.
It's like she understands that true redemption involves more than just making amends for her own actions.
Right. It's about taking care of the people whose lives she's touched.
Even inadvertently.
Exactly. And in doing so, she not only restores order to the kingdom,
but she also finds a sense of peace.
That's a beautiful ending in a way.
It is. It's amazing how this folktale, with all its twists and turns, manages to touch on such profound themes.
It's the power of stories, isn't it?
It really is.
Like, they allow us to explore these complex ideas about love and fate and deception and justice.
Gender roles, even.
Absolutely, even human nature.
And Rabbi נחman, he really invites us to question our assumptions.
To consider different perspectives.
And to think about these dilemmas that are still relevant today.
It's a story that stays with you.
It really does.
Long after you've heard it.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
I agree.
Thank you for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
And we hope this story has sparked some new insights for you.
And inspired you to think about the world in new ways.
And who knows, maybe even take a chance and forge your own path.
Just like the princess.
Thanks for listening.